You are listening to the It's Your Time podcast, and I'm your host, Certified Life Coach Michelle Arnold Burke. In today's episode, I'm sharing a recent conversation with Julia Bucheger, Vice President of CRM US Service and Service Transformation at Medtronic, as part of our mentoring series, and we discussed mentoring and leadership. Welcome to the It's Your Time podcast, the podcast where busy professionals like you get the practical solutions and support you need to gain control of your schedule so you can strive to be the best in your career, but without the stress and overwhelm. If you're looking to increase your energy and decrease your stress, you are in the right place. Hello. Welcome back to the podcast, friends. Okay, today I have another special interview in the mentoring series week. And in this episode, I am sharing a recent conversation with Julia Bucheger. Julia is Vice President, U.S. CRM Service and Service Transformation at Medtronic. And in this discussion, we talked about leadership, her being recognized as a Wallin Award winner for her leadership, and the importance of mentoring. She really has a unique perspective. She's only been with Medtronic. It's the only company she has worked with, and she has been here for over 2 decades. So there is a lot of gems in this episode and a lot to learn from her. So without further ado, please take a listen. Okay, this is going to be so much fun. Thank you for being here. As we get started, can you maybe introduce yourself in a way that you feel comfortable with, like share all of the goodness?
Well, I'll start. I'm married to my wonderful husband of 16 years, and we have 2 children. My daughter Mabel is 13 and my son Max is 11, and they keep us extremely busy on the weekends with many sporting activities. That's pretty much my only hobby outside work is, keeping up with them. And then professionally, I've been with Medtronic for 24 years. So I am a unique individual in that I've only worked for Medtronic. I started right out of college and have had a number of roles. I started as an engineer, quickly realized I wanted to be part of the sales organization and made my way there after just a few years doing engineering, and have been in that space ever since and loved every minute of it. And I live in Washington, D.C.
Oh my gosh, that's so great. I don't think I realized 24 years. That's in it for the long game. That's great.
Yeah.
And I have to imagine over those 24 years, this series is specifically about mentoring. And I would have to assume that over that time frame, you've had mentors. Can you maybe discuss a little bit about your mentoring journey, and also why you think it might be important for people, like, to encourage them to reach out and to get a mentor?
Yeah, sure. Mentoring has certainly been, a really important part of that career journey. I mean, it's been everything from formal mentors to probably more so informal mentors. Also had a sponsor, and they've all played, an important role throughout that journey. I still remember some of my first mentors, especially when I first realized that, I wanted to make the shift from, a true engineering role to the field. And it was mentors that really helped me, ask the right questions and get support from my current manager at the time, to really figure out how do you do that. And then, I've had mentors that helped me just talk through, a challenging situation in my role at the time. I think, one of the most important parts of advancing your career is being the best at your current job. And so I think mentors can play a role in that. And then, of course, the mentors that, help you with your development, whether it's helping you identify what opportunity could be next, helping you work on skills that you have gaps in, or even helping just connect you to people that can expand your network. So I've had, the privilege, I think, also of having great managers along the way. And I'd consider many of them mentors as well. Many times, I can sort of shift from my manager and change to a mentor relationship with those people, and have used them as well as I, worked through, advancing my career. And then I've had, certainly a sponsor along the way as well. So I think that there, have been a big and important part. And there's been, I was reflecting as I was thinking about this podcast about all those different individuals, and I should really go back and thank some that I haven't talked to in a long time.
Isn't that so interesting? And I love what you're saying because I feel like it's almost been a theme through this podcast series is like mentoring can look like so many different things. It doesn't have to be a formal process necessarily. And I even think for me, I look at people as mentors who they may have no idea that they're a
Right.
mentor to me.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Right?
I'm even thinking about peers, I, certainly now, just call a friend, right? A longtime peer from Medtronic, I might just call them, to talk through something. And that certainly is still mentoring, whether they really recognize it or not, right? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think
And
many people don't realize it's happening.
yeah, and I was gonna say, it sounds like so you still enlist mentors even at this stage in your career.
Yes, definitely. And again, probably now more informally, but definitely do. Again, many times with a peer relationship or sometimes, a past manager. I find them sometimes to be good, people that I can reach out to now in a more mentoring relationship that they're no longer my direct, boss.
Yeah, that's a great point. Now, I want to make a little shift here because you were recently recognized as a recipient of the Wallin Award. And for those who might not know, it is one of the most prestigious leadership awards given annually at Medtronic. So, can you maybe talk a little bit about that and what it means to you?
I mean, truly the biggest honor of my career. When I got the phone call, I was, completely shocked, certainly very humbled, but just very, honored to be recognized. I feel that, it's really all of the amazing leaders at Medtronic that I had the privilege of learning from throughout my career, that helped shape who I am as a leader today, and really, played such an important role in getting me to that point. And then my team as well. I feel that I am, I'm supported by an amazing team that I get to work with every day. And that's, I think a big part of loving being a leader and being your best self when you have a team that inspires you too. That, I think makes it fun and makes, you're trying to better yourself along with the team.
Yeah.
So yeah, just super humbled and honored. And it was, something I remember one of my old leaders talking about it and not me thinking, gosh, I would love to win that someday, but just still when you never think it's gonna actually happen. So I'm
Yeah,
incredibly honored.
that's so exciting. And you mentioned how it had you kind of thinking back at some of the leaders that you've worked with. I think leadership can look a number of different ways. So, what would you say is the filter by which you lead? Like, how and why is it important for you to show up in the way that you do?
For me, it's really about being authentic. I think early on in my career developed this I guess brand of speaking up and leading with candor. And there's been times when I'm like, "Ooh, was that? Did I go out too far?" And I'll even, go ask for feedback. Right? Was that? Did I challenge too much? And everyone always says, "No, that is what is what makes you great, and don't ever stop doing that." So I'm definitely not afraid to speak up, to, challenge a decision or something that's being planned, or ask a hard question, spark some debate. But it's definitely, I'm very passionate about, what I do and really the field organization, right? And this in my role, it's about fighting for them and helping people who don't work with them every day sometimes, understand how a decision they're making could impact that team in a way they just haven't thought of. And that really does require, being vocal and helping, you know, drive understanding. So
Yeah, I think that's so
sometimes,
important. What you're talking about, like being authentic, because I think sometimes I know, like for myself in the past, I've thought like I have to be very corporate, I have to be like this. And I think oftentimes as women, we don't necessarily embrace that authenticity. So I think the fact that you're winning leadership awards and that, like, right, you're having fun and you've been here for so long, that says something about the importance of it, right?
yeah, right. I mean, and just you just can't be afraid. And sometimes it's hard and sometimes it doesn't work, right? I mean, especially, there's times when, gosh, I really feel like I need to say something and the moment isn't there. And then you just can follow up on the side. But when you can find the moment, in a conversation or a meeting or whatever to, share your voice, I think it's, so important. And sometimes I do it through, I might text someone if I'm virtual and they're in the room. I might try to text the person in the room to get my voice heard, right? And then they might help enable that. They'll ask something else. So I think you can do it in different ways, or if you're not used to it, there's ways that you can start to insert yourself if just speaking up isn't, the easiest.
Yeah, that is a great tip. We just came back recently from the Women in Leadership Conference, and that was what one of the speakers had talked about, like kind of going around the room and enlisting the support of others as you're trying to like have your voice heard at the table. So I think that's such a great point, a great reminder for people.
And that we can play that role for others, right? I mean, I just think about, there was a recent, as we were doing some, strat planning, there was someone in the room that was actually a former manager of mine, and he was really supporting, kind of playing off like something that I would say. And I followed up afterwards just saying thank you, because we have to support, others in that same way and help build people, build their case. If you do agree with someone, that can be another opportunity to um, share your voice while supporting someone else.
Yeah, that's so great. And would you say that's kind of where you see leadership and mentoring maybe have some connections?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think, with leadership, it's, common goal. How are we going to get there? Right. Making sure we're going to deliver the results. But certainly mentoring can fit in there in terms of like how we do it. Right. How are we going to get there? What might someone, need in terms of some coaching along the way? Or how do you think about achieving a goal and either giving someone a stretch assignment and kind of mentoring them through that as a leader, so they can develop a new skill, but also help, get the team to achieve what they need.
Yeah, that's such a great point to just as a reminder. Like I think having someone give you the stretch goal, but maybe also like us taking the initiative to try to think of some stretch goals that we might want and be able to take it to a mentor and ask for the assistance or ask for the opportunity. I think sometimes though, when people look at someone like at your level, they might be intimidated to even ask for like the mentoring help. So I guess what would you say to someone who feels intimidated? And then what would you maybe give as some tips that might help them along the way?
Well, you're never going to get it if you don't ask, but you just have to ask. I mean, I think there's so many people that you might think are not approachable that in fact are very, and willing to help. I mean, again, I remember when I was interviewing for the first time for a national leadership role, I, asked someone to help prepare for that at the time. And I didn't think she would take as much time as she did. But she, really supported me and gave me great advice and probably helped me get that job, right? By being a mentor and sort of a sponsor as well. But if you don't ask, you aren't going to get that help. And I think again, if you ask someone, I think they're almost always going to say yes. Might it be a yes, but maybe not at, this week, of course, right? It might be a timing thing, or if they really can't take on a formal mentoring, maybe they'll just do, an initial meeting and help connect you to someone else in their network that does have, capacity to take on, a mentor. Certainly not everybody can, have too many, you can't have too many formal mentors, but I think everyone's always willing to have that initial connection. Um, and then help enable connecting you to others that might be have more time or and still be the right fit.
Yeah, I think that's important. Two things that you just mentioned: the importance of networking. I think sometimes people look at that as like, oh, I don't want to bother anyone, but you never know who they might know. And I remember a mentor early on said to me, Michelle, it's not who you know, it's who knows you, right? So it's like you might not be able to help right now, but maybe you have another colleague that's maybe even a better fit for someone.
Yeah, and I think that is absolutely one of my favorite things. I often meet, especially with people that are internal and want to get to the field. And then I see, all of a sudden later it'll show up on LinkedIn, right? That they now have a field job. And I'm like, oh my God, it's so exciting, right? Like I remember that first conversation where they were just exploring it and I just sort of helped guide them to the next person and they took it from there. But it is about just helping people connect the dots. I met with even someone this week that was referred to me. I'm like, oh gosh, I can't really, I don't have anything to help you with right in the moment, but now I know who you are. I know what your interests are. I know what you're looking for, and I can, keep you in mind as, I think of either connections or opportunities that might be a good fit. So I think, everyone loves to do that. It's what makes Medtronic, I think, such a great place that we can share talent and, make those connections. Yeah, it's all about, though, starting that relationship.
Yeah, starting. And I think the other thing that you've touched on is making it known what you want. I know I had interviewed for a DM role years ago, and the regional vice president was like, Michelle, I had no idea. Like, now that I know you have interest, I will keep an eye out. So it's also like people can't read our minds, right? We need to have conversations.
Yes, yes. Again, I think about early in my career, I said, okay, I want to, at one point, I want to be a people leader. And at the time, I also wanted to move to Washington, D.C. So I, reached out to both the managers who were in this location and made sure they knew both what I wanted to do and that that's where I wanted to be. You have to, I think that's a big part of you own your own career, right? And you have to make those steps. I mean, I've had people reach out and ask me to be a mentor, and then I actually never hear from them again. So, or, we have one meeting and I'm like, the rest is on you, right? I'm, can be there and will support it, but you have to own okay, how often are we going to meet? Come, prepared for robust conversation so we can make the best use of the time.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So, with Aspire, we used to consistently have the annual meetings in person, and
Oh,
we're
yeah.
working on getting back to that. And something you just said totally brought me back to one of the first meetings I ever went to. For years, I wanted to get to this meeting, and it always like something came up in the territory, and I wasn't able to make it. And I finally made it, and there was a speaker, and now I'm wondering if it was you. And I cannot remember who it was, but they said exactly what you're talking about. You focus on your territory. You help your doctors. Oftentimes we have blinders on and we want to help the patients and do everything there, but you need to be the one to take control of your career, and you need to be the one that owns it and develops it, and nobody else is going to do that for you. And I feel like that was such a shift for me. And again, that just goes back to like that person made such an impact in my life, and I totally blanked on like who said it, but I'm like, whoever it was, thank you.
Yeah. Right, because again, if you don't know what if you're not taking those steps, everyone's busy, and if other people are asking people for that help and making themselves clear on what they want, they're going to end up being the one that people remember to, tap back into.
Yes. Now, one thing that you've touched on a couple times, and for anyone who might not fully understand, you've talked about mentor and sponsor. Can you maybe just clarify how you see each one?
Yeah, I mean, I think a mentor is sort of like, getting you, more dated, frequent, regular, not frequent, but regular conversations and supporting kind of your just standard career development, and that can really happen at any phase. But when I think about sponsor, that's really like an elevated leader, someone maybe a couple levels above you, that's really going to be the one in the room that can either help make higher level connections or bring up your name. So um championing you at much higher levels, but maybe with like less, frequent interactions from a day-to-day type of coaching relationship.
Okay, makes total sense. This has been so helpful. Have we missed anything?
No, I think that again, it's really about, I think owning your situation and making sure that, you seek out the help that you need and take that on. And, I think we did talk about it, but I think it's just that reminder that it doesn't always have to be formal, right? It can be a combination of, singular interactions that are, either about a situation or learning about a career path can end up being a conversation that's like part exploratory, part, a mentor relationship, or that's how you might find someone that can, serve as a mentor. It could start as, I want to learn more about what you do. Um, so I think it can take on, many shapes. And again, even peer mentors can be important. So
I love that. I think that a lot of times too, as you're saying that, I feel like, a lot of people, especially at Medtronic, right? They're high achieving people who sometimes have this like perfectionistic thinking that there's a right and a wrong way. So just reiterating that there's no wrong way to do it, right? Like it's the way that works best for you.
right. And again, at different points in your career, you'll need different things, right? Maybe you don't know what's next, and that, or you're very happy in your current role, but you want to just get better at it, right? Or what is next. I think depending on where you're at in those different parts of your career journey, then they lend themselves to different types of, mentoring opportunities.
Yes. And I feel like the theme that you've talked about, having it look any sort of way and people going back and thanking them, it's such a great example of the theme of Aspire for this year, multiply your impact, because I feel like we can multiply our impact and maybe not even know what that is, right? Just
Yeah.
showing up and helping others.
Right. Yes, absolutely. And I think, yes, when you show up and support people and, they maybe least expect it, it just makes such a difference. And it can be the little things, right? Sending someone just an email saying thank you, or, for me, it's, if someone copies me on a message that's, recognizing someone, I always try to also reply and, support them. So
That is so great. How can people best connect with you? Is like LinkedIn the way to?
yeah, that's fine. Or, I mean, people could also just send me an email if they want to reach out, either with a question or if someone's really looking to set up time. I'm happy. I try to make myself as available as possible. Again, sometimes schedule pending, it might take a couple weeks to actually connect live, but yeah, I will do my best.
I feel like all the things that we do in life, it's right at the perfect time. So whenever that is, it's all
Yes.
for a reason. Thank you so
Yes.
much. This has been so much fun.
Yes. No, it's been so great, Michelle. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Wasn't that great? I mean, listen, we talked about leadership, we talked about mentorship, and I think the biggest takeaway from all of it is that you need to be the leader of your career journey. You need to own what mentoring looks like for you. You need to be able to have clarity on what that is for you, or at least, let's face it, some sort of an idea, right, to get started. And then don't be afraid to ask for help. It seems like everyone really does want to be part of the multiply your impact and help each other. It truly is about the ripple effect. You lead the way, my friends. Nobody else is going to do it for you. Okay, I'm excited to share tomorrow's guest with you. It has just been so much fun doing these episodes, so please be sure to check back for another installment in our mentoring series week. But for now, make it a great day. Take care. Did you know you can take this work to a deeper level with me one-on-one? Go to michelleburkecoaching.com and click on Get Started to begin.